Part 4. Sorry, folks. Um, I knew this to be true, but for her to admit this to her 7-year-old son was absolutely mind-blowing to me. How much of a piece of shit are you, Melissa, to say that to him? That is one facet where I think that, yes, you should have massively sugar-coated the truth. Because what you've done is you've told your 7-year-old son that his family was always a lie, even before he was born. And, I don't know if it's because you're used to dealing with people with low intelligence, sometimes I feel like your intelligence isn't, that high. You like to act like because you've got a degree, you're smarter and better than everybody else. I have told you before that you can have a degree and still be an absolute dumbass. Might be a decent pharmacist. I still had to show you how to get the lint out of a lint tray from a dryer without having to stand there and pick it all out for 10 minutes. I had to show you how to transfer coffee grounds from one container to another without making a mess. And umpteen other little simple things that are just part of life that, I figured out all by myself. Dumb old country boy. So, intelligence is variable. Having a degree and being fairly decent at the profession within which you got that degree doesn't mean you're a genius. Our son, however, is pretty damn smart, and he's really good at working things out. You look at that boy whenever he's thinking about something, and you can tell not only are the cogs turning, but the cog network is extremely vast and intricate. He's not an imbecile like some. He doesn't take what you say at face value and leave it at that. He picks everything apart and analyzes it. He's got such a mechanical mind. He takes everything apart to see how it works, including what you say to him. And you have delivered him a profound epiphany, because you have told him basically that his family was a lie even from the beginning, even from before he was born, because you were never happy with me. You like to blame me for all the problems that you have with Joey, when you are the one who is completely at fault for every single problem you've had with that child. And you are now at fault for the next set of problems you are going to have with him. And you will have more problems with him. And when I can finally sit down and talk to his ABA therapist, I'm going to make sure that she knows that half the problems that you lay out that you think are because he's autistic, he is, but you think that every single little quirk and discrepancy is because of his autism. He's a little boy. Him not wanting to do what he's told all the time, him not wanting to listen to you all the time, him not wanting to cut his hair, it's not because he's autistic. It has nothing to do with the autism. He's just a little boy, and he does not respect you. And he doesn't respect you entirely because of you. She tried to tell the new ABA therapist that, he's very, very anti-haircut, and that has to be because of his autism or whatever. I cut his hair. I cut his hair this last weekend. He did not want to cut his hair, but he didn't want to cut his hair because he liked it to bounce. But it was getting long, and we washed it, but his hair is like mine. It's thick, and it's curly. Mine's not curly anymore, but when I was little, it was super curly. And there were curls curled into curls, curled into curls down in the layers of his hair. It took me over an hour to cut his hair because, one, like mine, his hair is thick. He got hair like a wolf. And two, because I would have to cut and stop and comb, cut and stop and comb, cut and stop and comb. I was pulling tangles and curls out of this kid's hair for an hour. And I used the longest guard in my hair cutting kit so that it wasn't, too short for him. But when we were done, he was like, I feel better, He said, it feels like my head can breathe. He said, there's so much more air on my head. And I said, yeah. His hair had gotten so long that it would hang down in front of his eyes like a sheepdog. And he said, he would have to move his hair so he could see. He said, I can see now. He was so happy after he got his hair cut. And I cut his hair. And I didn't have to fight with him. I managed to convince him, we need to cut your hair, son. It'll grow back. We can get it bouncy again. But it's gotten too out of hand. And instead of doing that, instead of working those things out with him, she automatically turns it into a problem that it's not and wants somebody else to deal with it. You're his fucking mother. Pardon my French. Every single problem he has or with him is not supposed to be fixed by a damn therapist. Yes, he has minor autism. But it's not nowhere near as bad as you like to try to make it off. And instead of trying to put everything off to some sort of mental illness, I mean, I know you seem to have a touch of that, but that's not the case. You would be surprised how far you could get if you would just be his mother. Stop trying to have someone else fix all of your problems. He doesn't respect you. And after what you told him about never being happy with me, he's going to respect you even less. Because I didn't say anything to him about this. I told him, I said, well, I said, maybe that's true, sweetheart. I don't know. I said, but it doesn't do good for us to dwell on these things. I said, unfortunately, we can't fix it. Your mama and I are never going to be together again. I said, I know it's hard on you. I said, it's hard on me sometimes. I said, but it's just the way things are. I said, there's things in life that we can change. I said, and there's things in life that we can't change. I said, there's an old saying